So I first want to say that I'm really excited about today's video. It's not often that I get exclusive access when it comes to a publisher, when it comes to allowing me to not only thumb through the book that I'm currently reviewing, but more importantly, to show you some images of really substantial material that might draw you towards reading a text like this. So today's video is going to be on The Law of One by Ra and humble messenger of course, like I said before, The Law of One. So in today's video, we're going to talk about some of the highlights or secrets that are contained in this text. And we're going to go over the responses that this collective conscious called Ra decided to provide to humanity when it came to channeled messages back in 1980 to a series of 3 people. So with that said, let's dive into the Law of One and let's reveal some of those secrets that are kind of contained inside these pages. The Law of One, also known as the Raw material, is a series of 5 books that transcribe channeling sessions with a being named Ra, who claims to be a collective consciousness from the planet Venus 2 billion years ago that became a social memory complex. Yes, this is the same Ra from the old Egyptian hieroglyphics, where a collective of higher beings attempted to teach spiritual and material value systems to our laggard society by dropping down from their 6th density existence to 4th density. Ra was later misidentified 11,000 years ago as being deities, when in actuality they represented the evolution of 6th density beings, where love and light are unified. The Law of One is a series of texts written by Don Elkins, who's a physicist and UFO researcher, Jim McCarty, and a channeler named Carla L. Ruckart, that explores the channeling phenomenon of Ra, a group consciousness from Venus that began contacting the group back in 1980. The series explores the Law of One, a central philosophical principle that states that everything in the universe is in reality the same infinite creator, and that perceived differences are due to lack of awareness and understanding. The series covers a range of topics, including the universe's design, the path to healing, and humanity's path to enlightenment. Some highlights of the Law of One include: the work explores deep philosophical and spiritual concepts, focusing on themes of unity, the nature of reality, and the evolution of the soul. Key themes to remember when it comes to looking over this book is the unity and oneness of the universe. The central tenet of the Law of One is that all things are interconnected as part of a greater whole. This idea promotes a sense of compassion and understanding, urging readers to see beyond superficial differences. Number 2, spiritual evolution. The text outlines a process of spiritual growth through various densities, suggesting that souls progress through experiences that lead to greater awareness and understanding. This evolution eventually translates into higher vibrational states or planes of existence in the form of densities. As one progresses higher and higher, time, space, knowledge, and the ability to communicate becomes greater and greater. Number 3, free will. A significant focus is placed on the concept of free will, where individuals are encouraged to make choices that align with their true nature and the greater good. After all, the reason why we're here is to re-experience life as other selves. Number 4, service to others. Ra highlights the importance of altruism and serving others as a pathway to spiritual advancement, contrasting it with service to self, which can lead to spiritual stagnation. However, even Ra indicates that there is no right spiritual path, indicating that there are ones, such as service to self, that are generally harder to evolve with, that led to many potential pitfalls. Number 5, surprising facts. In these series of texts, they indicate that Jesus was a 4th dimensional being that came back to the 3rd dimensional reality to help us understand the world around us and to help us advance the next level of evolution, and that he also knew he was going to be crucified. The next fact is Ra was able to evolve through the densities quicker than us due to not having thumbs, which forced them to rely on one another that much more, which led to greater contact with other selves and their eventual spiritual progression. The next one is that there is a veil of forgetting, which is necessary upon life to not distract each individual self from not losing sight of the task at hand, which is to develop new perceptions about reality along with new spiritual meanings. Upon death, that veil is removed and we remember our other selves and lives. All right, and the last fun fact is that planets, suns, and black holes all have a consciousness, and their purpose is something to be discovered if you read these 5 texts. For instance, our sun is one of our sub-logoses. Okay, and throughout the book, you're going to be seeing 2 spiritual paths, like mentioned before, which is service to self and service to other individuals. So service to self individuals, they're the ones that see the self as separate or individualized from others. They favor body and mind worship for material evolution, and the persona is based on control, repression, hierarchy, power, personal gain, and competition that requires a 95% preference for ascension to a higher planet or plane of existence. All right, as for service to other individuals, their preference path consists of accepting and service to other selves. Heart and spiritual worship are required for their spiritual evolution, and it's based off of free will of other selves, well-being of others, networking, cooperation, and synergy. They require a 51% preference to ascend to higher levels of existence or planets. And there is no distinctive malevolent polarity type. However, just keep in mind, one's a lot harder, like I said before, and has a lot more pitfalls when it comes to becoming malevolent. As brief examples, think of Augustus and Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, right? The mother was constantly catering to her other self or her child. And because of that, he was a good 400 pounds. He was morbidly obese. So even service to other individuals have malevolent types. Same thing with service to self, right? But I don't need to give you examples of that one. People know how, competition and industry and everything else leads to corruption. You guys don't need that speech from me. Often throughout the text, there are references to the Orion group, which are negative entities that thrive off of control, manipulation, and exploitation of others. Similar entities were accused of psychic attacks of the channeler that was delivering Ra's message during the series of the 5 books. All right, and this is just a quick overview of the densities when it comes to our progression, right? And I believe that there's 8, but there might be a little bit more than that when it comes to future selves and our destiny, so to speak. But the ones that are mentioned, right, are first density, which is the density of awareness, in which the planet moves out of timeless state into physical manifestation. Its inhabitants are earth, wind, water, and fire. So, of course, elemental, right? The second density is a density of growth, in which we can call biological life that emerges and evolves into greater and greater complexity. Third density, our density, is the density of choice, in which certain of the biological entities are invested with spirits and choose which way they will further their evolution toward the infinite creator. Our next density, which is the fourth density, is the density of love. Those who have successfully chosen to come together with others of like mind in order to pursue that choice, either towards loving self or loving others, typically advance. Fifth density is the density of wisdom. Those who have studied the love of self or of others now learn to be wise in their service. When it comes to sixth density is the density of unity. In it, love and wisdom are blended together. The two paths reunite as those on the service to self path, realizing that they cannot successfully master the lessons of unity without opening their hearts to others, switch their polarity to positive. Seventh density is the gateway density, the last step before we become again that which we have always been, the one infinite creator. And of course, the eighth density, right? It's the beginning of the first density all over again with the next creation from the one infinite creator. So not to confuse you too much, but there are spiritual harvests that occur every 75,000 years. And apparently our planet is getting very near to that process when it transitions into the fourth density. Again, our planet is a consciousness. The sun is a consciousness. When it comes to further explanation for all of that, I highly recommend that you read these texts. It does a really good job explaining a lot of the intricacies here. So when it comes to my conclusion, the Law of One is a thought-provoking exploration of spirituality that encourages readers to reflect on their place in the universe and the interconnectedness of all life. Its teachings promote a message of love, understanding, and unity, making it a significant work for those interested in spiritual philosophy and personal growth. While it may not appeal to everyone, and most certainly higher intelligences should not be considered as being always right or an authority on reality, its depth and insight can be transformative for those open to some of its ideas. All right, a little heads up. Again, if you do not have Schiffer Publishing permission, please do not duplicate or copy these images. Again, you always want to get the publisher's permission to do this. All right, so these are a lot of the early tarot images that were later altered or deviated by all sorts of cultural influences, including the Sumerian culture. But its origins had to do with Ra and was most certainly used to teach the Law of One. So in the text, especially book 4, it kind of talks about some of this process where they go up to one of the Egyptian priests and say, you know, what do you see in this image? Like, for instance, the wand. When it comes to the emperor, you know, what do you think that wand represents? Or why is he cross-legged? Or the bird on his chest, does that have any type of significance? What does that make you feel like, right? What do you feel is the right answer? When it comes to these other images, why do you feel like the individual is going uphill on the right side of the image, right? Does that have any significance to you? Or the person on the left with the scales, right? What does that signify? So a great teaching tool when it comes to the Law of One, when it comes to self-discovery, why we're here, what we're supposed to learn, right? And at the same time, not impeding somebody else's free will when it comes to the choices, decisions, and perceptions that they're coming up with versus being force-fed to them by our higher consciousness. And again, when it comes to the occult, when it comes to mysticism and everything else, even Ra indicates that the cards are used for other purposes. But just like a hammer, right? You can use a hammer to hammer down a nail, or you can use it to demo a room when it comes to destroying the walls and taking everything down. When it comes to any type of instrument, it can be used for other purposes. But the original purpose was as a teaching tool. So just something to keep in mind when it comes to looking at the tarot. It's most certainly not a dark object, but can be used for dark purposes. It's not necessarily meant to speak to other entities, but my guess, again, not an expert in any of this, is that, of course, it can, because it's a vessel, right? All right, so to allow you guys to cheat a little bit when it comes to looking at some of these images, to save you from reading most of the parts of the book, there's a lot of significance when it comes to duality, light and dark, service to self, service to others. So usually when you see these images, you'll see a lot of that duality, right? Also, numerology is really important when it comes to planetary alignments. Oh, there's the Fool, right? We all know that card. Looks like he's going to walk straight into that alligator. And looks like there's an obelisk on its side, right? And an eclipse in the background. All right, so needless to say, a really intriguing and fascinating text. A little wordy. It's sometimes hard to follow when it comes to Ra's interpretations. Again, this is a entity or a group of entities that advanced roughly about 2 billion years ago. And, we're on a completely different planet, which was Venus. So their perspective, their way of doing things, and how they reached their own sixth density or vibrational state had to do with different circumstances than ours. But with that said, there's a lot that we can learn from an advanced species. But at the same time, you should not view such a book as being authoritative, right? Even though this does mention the one infinite creator, Ra, Just like they were misinterpreted back 11,000 years ago with Egyptians, they are not a deity, right? They are not a god. They're a fractal of ourselves or our other selves, right? Just a lot different than we are, but from the same source and center, right? Cut from the same cloth, so to speak, just with different experiences. And those experiences is the reason why we're here. So with that said, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a like, and I will see you on the next one.